Hey everyone, this is Prince from DC Programmer. Welcome back to another exciting video, and this video is a starting point for this complete Node.js series where we're going to talk about Node.js. We will see how we can create websites using Node.js, Express and MongoDB. So we'll be creating 4 applications throughout this complete course. First, we'll create a task application that will help us with understanding the CRUD operation of a MongoDB database. Then we will create complete authentication package with a normal email, password, login, logout, verification, forgot password, and then using a Google Auth 2. Then we will create a Saraha clone. If you remember, that was an application, basically a website where anybody can go and create an account and people can send him or her anonymous messages. Then we will create a complete social media clone, and then at the end we may end up using socket.io to create a chat application. But before we move forward, there are a couple of points that we showed in this video about Node.js and the learning process, like what you will learn and how you can actually use that to make projects. So first of all, talking about Node.js. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on Chrome's weird JavaScript engine. That's something, it's on the website itself. In simple words, Node.js will help you to execute JavaScript code on your machine. That's Windows OS, Linux OS, Mac OS. So you won't need a browser if you want to execute JavaScript using Node.js. Second thing is setup, and I don't think that's a lot to do talk about setup in this video, but I will leave us complete setup video at the end. All that you have to do is to click on this button that will download the long-term support version of Node.js for you, and then installation is pretty much same as any other software. Still, I will leave a video at the end. Talk about requirements. All that you need to know is the basics of JavaScript for this complete series. But if you know HTML, CSS, it will be better because obviously we will be designing our projects that we create. Let's talk about important stuff. So although technically this might not seem correct, but I'm going to distribute the complete Node.js and website conundrum in 3 simple parts. Okay, so first one is going to be the one that we're going to learn in this complete series. That's we are going to use some templating engine like EJS or HPS. We'll talk about authentication. We'll talk about browser session based authorization. Now we'll talk about Express.js. We'll talk about MongoDB and all. The second one, I will set it as simple, a complete GraphQL or REST API based usage or learning. So there we don't use any kind of templating engine and all. And when you're using GraphQL REST API, all that you'll be doing is basic authentication, but there will be no browser like session based authentication. It will be a key value pair authentication like JWT, JSON Web Tokens, or anything as such. Most of the time you'll be using JWT. The third one is a complete MERN on mean package, which is Mongo, Express, Node, and React or Angular. Now, the reason why I have distributed in 3 categories is because these are the learning ways and these are the usage. So when you learn Node.js and Express, either you will be building a complete website using Express, Passport for authentication, and then some EJS and HBS templating engine, or you will be working as a complete backend developer where you will be just creating APIs using Graph, REST, SOAP, and those APIs will be consumed by other front-end developers who will be creating the application using, let's say, React, or a mobile application using Flutter, React Native, or whatever they want. And the third one is obviously the full stack developer kind of thing where you will be creating APIs and you will be consuming them in React or Angular frontend. I'm not saying a complete full stack developer, I'm saying a kind of full stack developer thing, because obviously DevOps is not included there. So I won't say that you are a complete full stack web developer if you learn MERN on mean, but that is a very useful scenario. Now, if you go over the internet and you will search, most of the people will tell you, hey, go and learn MERN, go and learn mean. And obviously that's the truth, because most of the time you will be working with the mean and MERN if you are working in any company, or even if you are getting some normal projects, you may want to use that. You may want to create in MERN and mean, but even other forms are being used a lot. And there are 2 things that I want to put out here. The first one is the learning process. Okay, if you are a beginner, let's say you don't know much about web development, or let's say you have done a little bit of web development using PHP and all, and if you want to switch to Node.js and Django for, let's say, better work environment or progress and all, and if you just start learning MERN and mean at once, the learning curve will be a bit high, because here there will be complete APIs thing and the front end will be different from there. And if you don't know anything about web development, then that's a long road. I'm not saying that you can't or that you should not. I'm just saying that it will be a long road, and obviously the more basic concepts are clear, the better it is. So anyway, moving forward, let's start writing some code. I think we have talked a lot. Let's keep it in the bottom, and here I have my command prompt. So first of all, once you install Node.js, obviously you can just do node space -- version and you will get Node. That's our runtime environment. The second thing that we need is npm, that's Node Package Manager. You can say npm space -- and version. This will tell you about the npm Node Package Manager version. Both are important. What Node does is that it executes our code. What npm does is that it installs third-party libraries for us. So let's first talk about some npm commands that we'll be using throughout this video. And I have already said that you should know JavaScript, like you should know the concept of var, let, const, you should know if statements, else statements, loops, objects, and a little bit of object-oriented programming. Although object-oriented programming ain't much that we'll be using in this video. The first one that we're going to talk about is the npm init. So npm init will initialize a project for us. But to do that, let's first create another directory. I will simply switch to my D directory. I will create a directory. Let's node tutorial. I will switch to node tutorial, and here I will say npm init. So when I hit enter, npm init will ask me a lot of questions like what is the package name. I can give it another name, or I can just leave it to node tutorial, the version, description. You can put anything, entry point. If you want it to be an app.js file, you're good to go. If you want it to be index.js file, you're good to go. Test command, if you want it, you can put git repository, you can put keywords, you can put other license, and you can just say yeah, it's okay, and this will create a package.json file for you. I'm just going to open this folder in my code editor, that's Visual Studio Code, so that I can see what they have. And here I have a package.json file. Now here you can see I have the main, that's index.js file. That means whenever I run here this scripts, whether the test, start, or anything as such, it will execute the index.js file for me, so I have to create that. The version is obviously 1.0, description, that's what I put here, other, and then the license. So this is basically the npm init thing. But most of the time you will see that I'll be using npm space init space double dash and yes. What this does is that it doesn't show me this utility, it just creates with whatever the basic information I have already provided from my earlier projects or from my system. So these are two commands that you should understand always. The next is installing and uninstalling third-party packages, because we are going to use them a lot. So if you just head over to this npmjs.com, this will give us a list of all the npm packages that we have here. But to install a package, but to use a package, we have to first install it, and there are two options. I have to say npm space install, and I can omit the complete install. I can even put a simple I, and I'll be good to go. So if you want to install something, you can either use npm I or npm install. Then here you have to put your package name. Let's say I want to install Express, so I say Express. The next thing is the -g global flag. What -g does is that it will install the Express package globally. So the next time when I create any other package, let's say any other project, and I want to use Express in that, Node will just get it from the current my system cache. If I don't put the G flag, what npm does is that it will install Express locally for this particular project only. So the next time when I have to use Express again, I have to connect to internet and I have to use this complete thing, the complete code. Anyway, right here, if I just hit enter, this will install this package for me, npm express. And once this package is installed, okay, if I go back to my code editor, you will see that this has been added in this dependencies list. So dependency list will contain all the third-party plugins or packages on which my project is dependent on. So this is the this is the third-party plugin that we are using, the framework, that's Express, it's a library. And this is the version that we have for our project. So what this means is that any version that's greater than 4.17.1. Now if you want to uninstall this package, obviously all that you have to do is npm uninstall and then Express, and this will remove this package for us. So once this program is completed, here we have an empty dependency list. So this is our main package. Sometimes you may need some packages which are not necessary in production, but they are necessary in development. For example, one such package is going to be NodeMon, which will help us with refreshing. Now since I don't want this in development, I can use a -G flag here, D flag here. And what this does is that it installs the package as a dev dependency. So what happens is that when I push this in production and when I run npm install there, it won't install NodeMon for me there. So once this is completed, let's go back here and you can see that in the dev dependencies, now I have NodeMon and the version is anything that's greater than 0.6 obviously. And obviously to update in package, I have to say npm update. These are the three commands that we'll be using most: npm install, npm uninstall, npm install as a dev dependency, and npm update. Now there are a couple of other commands that you may need to use sometimes or the other. The first thing is that let's say you are using Node.js for a long time, so your system will have a lot of cache in it. In that case, you can use this command, that's npm cache clean and -- force. What this does is that it will clean the cache so that we can install this again, because this is installed in our C directory too. So it will clean the cache from there and it will install everything for us. The next is npm list. What npm list does is that it lists all the packages that we have installed. For example, here you can see these are all the packages that we have installed, and actually all that I have installed here is just one package, but it shows me the list in this way because it shows me all the packages that are in the third party package. So I can do something like npm space list and dash depth 0, and what this does is that it will just show me the first depth. It won't go deeper into it, like what are necessary there. So all that I have here is node1. I can use a -g flag and it will list all the packages that I have installed globally, and I don't think I have installed any package globally, so we may just get an empty list. Okay, so I have Firebase tools installed globally, so that's a global package that I already have in my system. So this was everything about npm. These are the commands. I will leave them in the description. If you want, you can check them out. The second thing that I want to talk about is multiple files communication, right? So let me first create a file that's index.js, and then I will create another file, let's say file2.js. So most of the time while we are creating projects, obviously we won't be writing our entire code in a single file. So we will have multiple files for routing, let's say for configuration, for controllers and all. So we have to talk about files communication. That's basically modules and how that works. So in our file2.js, let's say I'm just writing code that won't be executed directly, but to execute those code I have to use index.js. So one basic way is, let's say I create a function here. I'm just saying this function as func. I will save this. So obviously I have to call this function to execute it, but I don't want this function to execute it from this file. I want to use this function index.js file. So the first method is directly require this. So I will say require and /file2. I don't even need to put a JS here. Although I have required this file, this is still not accessible. So to make sure that this is accessible, that by that first file we have to use module.exports is equal to, and I want to export this function in our module. So now that I save this, now let's go and save here. Now when I run this, we don't get anything because we have to still call this. So I call this and I get a function. So this is a direct way of doing. Here I'm saying that this file will export a single function, that's this particular function. Okay, if I remove this and let's go back, let's run again, we don't get anything because there is no function in that file that's being exported. But this is a simple way of exporting a single function. Most of the time we may have multiple functions that we want to work with. Now there we use different key values for a different kind of data. Let's say here I have a module.exports, but this is some kind of data. So I can just say module.export and a key, that's data, and here I can put some data, and now when I use the key data, then I will give this particular data only. And let's say I have module.exports, and let's say I have some function. So this is another function, and when I say here, so now when I go back to index.js, and now if I save this and if I run this, you see that I get this one because this is the one that's being exported directly. Now I can use a key to get a particular data. So I can say dot, let's say I said data. Now if I save this, I run this again, obviously get nothing because data is not printing or doing anything as such. If I get something like dot func and I have to execute this, so if I run this again, I get this particular function from my files export. Normally we won't do this like this way. Normally what we do is that we create a reference for this. Let's say some constant reference to that file is saved in this ref variable. Now I can use ref.data to get that particular data. I can use ref.func to execute that particular function, and I can just call the ref directly, and this will execute this particular function that we are sending. By the way, here we can simply use our arrow functions too. I hope you already know what arrow functions are, and it will be good to go. So that's pretty much it from my side in this video. If you want to check out the description for course link and for the complete list of commands, and I hope you're all excited for this. Well, keep coding, keep loving, keep sharing, and peace.